Looks like it's going live on YouTube too. So welcome everyone to another edition of Entrepreneur Journey. And I'm so pleased to have Ryan McKinney on the show today. I've been trying to get this man on my podcast for a while. And I'm just very, very pleased that he's with us today. Ryan, you have an incredible story of transitioning from the corporate world to entrepreneurship. That you're going to get to share that. And you have so much expertise around just business building. That we're also going to dive into. But first, I like to have some fun with our guests. But let me back up. I always get ahead of myself. Let me back up because I want you to give a short introduction. I don't want you to tell your story or anything like that, but I do want you to give a short introduction of who you are.
Okay. Yeah, sure. So my name is Ryan McKinney. I'm a leadership and business coach, and I help entrepreneurs get organized. I help them get stress-free, and I help them make some money.
What entrepreneur doesn't like all those things, right?
Exactly.
Nice. So now I like to have fun with my guests. So I have some rapid fire questions for you. So answer as quickly as possible. Skydive or shark dive?
Skydive.
All right. A better trilogy, the original Star Wars or Lord of the Rings?
Oh, original Star Wars.
All right. Yeah, that's a tough one. Rather drive a Lamborghini or a Bentley?
Lamborghini.
Okay. Which would you rather do? Go see a comedian you've never seen before or go to see a band you've never seen?
Band.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice. All right.
I had a bad experience going to see a comedian I'd never seen before. So,
experience matters. Yes. So this is one of my favorite parts of all the interviews is the fill in the blank, because I always am surprised at the answer normally. So your fill in the blank question is, in your experience, blank is the biggest mistake that new business owners make.
thinking they know it all.
Ooh, nice. Awesome.
That wasn't hard to go back to my original thing, thinking I knew it all. And it's sneaky, Doug, because most of us don't approach things and go, oh, I know everything. So, we don't get the smug look on our face and go, oh, I know how to do that, blah, 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 blah. What we do, it's sneaky because we say, well, yeah, I know how to do that, so I'll do that next. I don't know how to do this. And as entrepreneurs, we like shiny things. So we go, I'm going to go learn how to do this.
Yeah. We want to do it all in a lot of ways. And it's not good for us to try and do it all.
Fair.
Now, I think I know a little bit about the story, but not a lot. So a lot of it will be new to me. It'll definitely be new to the audience. So I want you to tell the story of how you went from where you were in the corporate world to where you are in entrepreneurship now. Include anything and everything you want to include.
Okay. I won't go all the way back to the beginning because I think that'll probably bore the tears out of everybody, but I'll give you a brief version. So I spent 20 years working in corporate America. I owned a business before that and sold it. And went into work for the financial industry, working as a banker, as a loan officer, as a commercial banker, all that good stuff, even market executive, and did some pretty amazing work there. Had a lot of good impact, learning leadership skills. Went into durable goods industry and started working as a liaison between the sales organization and the operations, but essentially employed by the operations organization. Anybody knows anything about that? They like to butt heads a lot. They're like oil and water. So they needed somebody that can come in and speak sales to on behalf of the operation folks. And I was doing all that and experiencing lots of success every couple of years, getting a promotion, moving up the ladder, switched industries, did the same thing, moved up the ladder, did all that kind of stuff. And then essentially I hit that glass ceiling. And within a 6-month time frame or so, there were 3 different roles that I applied for. One was in the sales organization because I wanted to get back into the sales side of things. I love being near the client, near the customer, hearing their issues, working through them. And another one was a transportation and distribution senior director role. All these are senior director roles. And so clearly on the operations side of the business. And then there was this other one that was a support role for sales called in sales operations. And So interesting thing is I applied for the sales job, and this company had only known me as an operations guy. Somehow magically knew how to speak the sales language, but they only knew me as an operations guy. So the sales team said, "You're an operations guy. We can't hire you to do a sales job. These are big accounts. These are big, national accounts." And then I, applied for the transportation distribution warehousing job, and they said, "Oh, you're a sales guy. You don't know how to do this." I was like, "Oh boy, I got a problem." And then I applied for the sales support role in sales operations. They said, "You're overqualified for this. You need to do something different." And I was like, "Okay, I know something's going on here. And if it's in 3 different places, the fingers are probably pointing back at me if I'm pointing at everybody else." So I hired a coach, and I got a coach to support me in that. Thinking to myself, "Hey, this is probably me. There's something wrong here." And the coach quickly confirmed it was me. It wasn't anything I was doing intentional. It wasn't anything I didn't know. It was my personal branding, the unintentional branding that I was doing when I was around, basically the same thing I just told you. Hey, the salespeople thought I was an operations person. The operations people thought I was a salesperson. And it kind of kept me stuck. Well, we solved that problem. A year later, we had solved several other issues that had helped me, reestablish what that was. And I learned a lot through the process of being coached. So much so that at the end of that, the company that had turned me down, the same company that turned me down for 3 roles before, tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Hey, here's a multi-million-dollar budget to implement a new software system. We need you to hire a team of 10 to 12 people, and we want you to lead it for the company in something we've never done before." So that said to me a lot of trust. I was like, "Okay, this seems successful." And my coach looked at me and said, "Well, what do you want to do next?" And I said, "I think I want to do for other people what you just did for me." And that is where my coaching career was born. She guided me towards a great coaching school, and went through coach training school, coached on nights and weekends on the side for a few years, and ended up working for a company, an exercise company out west, and flying back and forth doing that, and still doing coaching on the side, running retreats, all the good things. And an exercise company that has lots of demand going into a pandemic and no product has lots of product coming out of a pandemic and no demand. And they also cut their workforce by 70%. I was part of that, and put my head in my hands for a minute. And then I put my hands together and I said, "God, is this you telling me it's time to get out of the nest? Is it time for me to take my coaching business of this dream that I've got and do my coaching and consulting business?" And I got my answer. And here we are. So that's my journey into entrepreneurship. I kind of eased into it and then got kicked out of the nest and said, go make it work. So here I am.
Nice. I listen very intently to everyone's story that comes on here, because there are so many things that I can pick out of it that play into entrepreneurship. Even when you were in the corporate world, clarity of message really stuck out to me, because you had mentioned that the operations people thought you were a sales guy, the sales guys thought you were an operations guy. Often we as entrepreneurs don't have clarity of who we are to our audience, right?
Right.
And we're a lot of times we're the most blind to it, right? We need someone else to tell us that our message isn't clear.
Yeah.
So I picked up on that right away.
Well, and it's so funny because working with my coach, we talked a lot about that in entrepreneurship, and in the coaching world now is, how do you identify with your audience, and not how do you want to, but how do you? And they hear that story, and my audience hears, okay, well, he's an entrepreneur. And what the people that are in corporate America say, oh, so he knows how to bring something out of nothing. And those are entrepreneurs, right? These are the people that want to work for a corporation, but love that entrepreneurial spirit. And honestly, that was me for 20 years. If I look back at all the things I did in corporate America, the banking industry had me go open a market. We didn't exist in that market before. It's like, I need you to go open 3 branches and run a commercial, investment, and retail operation there. Cool. Like, that was fun to me, because other people look at me like I was crazy. Like, what are you doing? The same way that people look at you like you're crazy when you just say you're going to start your business. Right. So I lived through that for 20 years and worked through it. And that's now when my coach asked me, he's like, what do you identify to your audience with? I say both of those. Like, I support entrepreneurs in starting, running, and growing businesses. And at the same time, I support those entrepreneurs with personal branding, marketing within the organization, creating opportunities out of nothing. And I have programs for both of those because I love both of those people. So
Nice. Nice. The other thing, and I just picked up on it on something you just said, the spiritual path, right? You're a believer just like I am. And I you could see in your path where God put you in situations to develop you for what's going to happen later. And in the moment, you did not know that's what was happening, right? You don't know it until you arrive later on and you look back and like, wow, he did all that for me, right?
yeah, I have a colleague that I was working with at my previous role before I left corporate. He ended up being a client of mine, a great guy, I love him to death. And he said, it's almost like everything you've done in your life led up to this point. And I was like, I think that's true for all of us, but it's good to notice it. It's good to be aware of that.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. I am amazed, and I guess when I was younger, I wouldn't have realized it, but at this point, mine and my wife's life is everything that God had laid out before us before we got there, not filling our needs before we knew we needed them. It's just amazing. So anyway, let's dive into some of your expertise.
Sure.
From someone that has transitioned from a 20-year corporate career to starting now a six-figure coaching business, what are some of the key factors that have helped you achieve that?
Achieve the transition or the six figures?
The success in the coaching in the coaching business.
Got it. Yeah. So taking some of the principles, quite honestly, when you spend 20 years in corporate doing different roles in different leadership, you see lots of things, you take lots of lumps. And you can learn them ultimately at the company's expense. As an entrepreneur, you don't have that luxury. You're learning them at your own expense. So trial and error is very, very expensive. Sometimes it's necessary with marketing things and things like that. You just got to try stuff. But I tried to bring in the knowledge and experience of the mistakes that I had seen made and had made myself over the course of 20 years and make sure that I didn't make those in my business. I knew that there were some proven things that we did every time we put a project together or started a new department or opened a new market or whatever it was. And I said, hey, I want to make sure that those are part of my plan. And, when I was a very young guy and a banker and all that good stuff, people would come in with their business plan, and it was typically something that they spent hundreds of hours working on and putting together and then never looked at it again once the banker told them they couldn't get a loan. Instead of going in and trying to get a loan to start with, the banker would have told you that then too. If you don't have collateral, you're not going to get a loan for a business that's new. Just for everybody that's out there, it's very difficult to get funding in that way. But there are ultra clear plans that we put in place when there's tons of money on the line. So I treated my business as if there were tons of money on the line because, quite honestly, there is. And when I did that, I put together a plan that didn't have fluff in it, that didn't matter because I wasn't trying to impress an investor or a banker or something like that. I put a plan in place the same way that I would for clients that get results. And we, follow the Pareto rule. Hey, there's 20% of the things that you think you need to do and that you actually do need to do because they make 80% of the impact. And there's 80% of the things that you think you need to do that you really don't. Let's sift through that to start with before we get going. And there was a lot of trial and error that I could eliminate by doing that. So it saved me a lot of time, saved me a lot of money, especially since I was funding my own venture. And that was really, really important.
Yeah. So much good stuff in there. And so many entrepreneurs, I feel, are trapped in that 80-20 on the wrong side.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're doing so many things that are eating up their time that are not moving the needle. So yeah, thank you for that. I didn't have this question on the questions that I sent you to ask you, but I think there might be people in the audience that this would be good for. So can you talk about the entrepreneurs that are out there that might be thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, what they need to do, what they need to accomplish, or mindset, anything like that before they make that venture out? Because that's something that you did.
Absolutely. And in fact, I know the answer to this because not only because I've done it, but I've got a couple of clients on the roster that are doing that and one that has done that. First and foremost, you have to understand your safety net. You need to know what your safety net is. Stepping into the world of coaching, they don't teach you in coach training school to do anything except be a great coach. They don't teach you how to run a business. They don't teach you how to sell. They don't teach you how to market. And I promise you, there are no shortage of people out there on pick your social media platform that are willing to tell you that they have the answer. And many of them may have really good answers for those specific problems. When it comes to stepping out on your own and leaving corporate, you're leaving a handful of things you need to be aware of. One, the safety net. You need to get that right. Safety net is how much money do you need to cash flow your business before you start making your own cash flow, generating income. That means calculating your savings, calculating your retirement. You don't want to have to touch that. I recognize that there are retirement salespeople around the world right now that are hearing this and going, no, don't do that. But you need to know if you, before you live under a bridge and eat sardines and share them with your kids, what would you sell through and what would need to happen? You need to visualize all of those things before you step out, and that'll help you to prepare your safety net. So if you think that, hey, it's going to cost me $5,000 a month or 10 grand a month or 15 grand a month, then you need to have a minimum of 6 months of that saved up before you step out and be prepared to spend all of it. The good news is when you do that, you operate from a different energy and mindset, and you typically won't use that money. But if you don't have it, you will use at least that amount and more from somewhere, and you'll end up probably going out of business because a bad energy mindset, like when you step into something needing to sell something, you won't. You just won't. Right. The other thing that I would tell people is get your skills while you're being paid by your company. I don't mean cheat the company you're working for. Give them everything they pay you for. Be honest about what you do. Have integrity in everything you do because it matters. What I am telling you is you got night and weekends, and it's going to be a season of your life. It shouldn't be a way of life, but it should be a season. Get in there, do the hard work, roll your sleeves up, do all the learning while you're still being paid by somebody else.
Awesome. I'm so glad I asked you that question because I know that there's a lot of value to be shared. And I know there's probably some entrepreneurs listening to this right now, either in recording or watching it live. So
yeah.
Next question is, many entrepreneurs struggle with overwhelm and lack of clarity when starting their business. Can you share some actionable steps or tips that they can take to overcome those challenges?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that, people get stuck in, overwhelm is like when you feel it, it's like I feel it in the back of my head right here, upper neck and back of the lower head. It is tough, and everybody goes through it. If you think you're not overwhelmed, you probably are. It is a stressful situation, and it can really not only weigh you down, but keep you from moving forward. The best thing you can do, and there's a methodology that I teach, and often the reason people get overwhelmed is because they get pushed back into reactive mode. Right? There's this reactive kind of fight or flight energy that we have, that catabolic energy that tears you down and holds you down. That reactive. Well, if you set yourself up for a reactive environment, you're creating the overwhelm. You are creating that. Right? Then, there's responsive, reactive, responsive. And responsive is next up the list. And that's where you can at least think about it. You're not in fight or flight anymore, but you're still having to do a lot. Like you're having to respond to the world happening. And that can also create overwhelm. The best way to be is to move over to the other side of the scale and be proactive and then prescriptive. And the way you do that is with an ultra clear plan, having a step-by-step roadmap. And I want to be clear when I say that. You don't need to know what to have for breakfast on May 18th. That's not what I mean by an ultra clear plan. But you need to know that there are certain things that need to happen in your business before other things happen. You need to know that before you hire a VA, you need to be bringing in income. It needs to cost you money to not hire a VA before you hire a VA, right? It needs to be, there's a time frame, there's a trigger point when those things happen, and that is in your clear plan. It's not just a when, it's a how much money do I have stacked up before I make an investment in some other type of income stream. There's the plan is the biggest piece. The mindset part of it is also there. You've got to manage your energy. And I talked a little bit about catabolic energy. There's also anabolic energy on the other side. Catabolic is responsive, reactive. It's that fight or flight energy. The anabolic is the long sustaining success energy. When you think about it, what type of energy do you want? Do you want restorative energy? Do you want the type of energy that is collaborative and people are attracted to? Or do you want fight or flight energy, which is defensive and survival mode? One of those is going to bring money to you, and one of them is going to require you to go to somebody for money. So you got to think about that as an entrepreneur, and it's very important. But that can help you, having those things mapped out, know when to do what, and be able to execute on those. That is super important about remaining off the overwhelm spectrum. So,
yeah, awesome. I have a few follow-ups on that. You had mentioned generating income before you hire like a VA. I would say that the only people that you should even think about hiring are people that are going to generate income, not take yours.
Yeah. And so, or if they enable you making more. So that was a mistake that I had made early on. It was like, well, if I hire a VA, then they're just going to, all I'm going to have them do is do the social media and this and that, because a lot of people will tell you, a lot of gurus will tell you, hey, have a VA that can take all the things you don't want to do off your plate. That's great. And yes, that is helpful. Don't get me wrong. That can help to release some overwhelm. There's some things that are there. You need to recognize that social media is a long tail return on investment. Like, it is not a today thing. So having them do something that is a long tail return on investment that's not the priority. To hire a VA, though, that can book you podcast appearances, if that's how you're going to, hey, you're here, right? You can book you a podcast appearance, having a VA to do that for you so that you're not spending 2 hours a week trying to get on podcasts, or have a VA to scope out venues for you to do your own self-hosted events, to have a VA to have things printed for you so that you can go and sell more, to have a VA that can, set up a speaking engagement for you. Those are ways that you can win by hiring somebody else to do things that enable you to sell more. You can also hire people that can sell for you. I typically stay away from that in this business because it is a high ticket, high touch business. And I don't want to have to make up for somebody else's integrity issues if I don't know them well enough. So I haven't explored a whole lot in that direction because I don't know that I trust it yet.
Yeah, that's very key. And we could go really far into team building from there, but we'll not venture into that because it's more than just hiring a skill set. It's hiring an alignment, hiring with your reputation. They're part of your reputation when you bring people on. So I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So let me ask you the next thing. So what is the secret to building a business this is my favorite question that I have for you. What is the secret to building a business that's both profitable and fun?
Yes. 3 things it should be: simple, profitable, and fun. I think I heard Evans mention that it should be easy, lucrative, and fun. And I was like, yes, that's pretty much the same thing. I like that. But profitable and fun. You need to, this kind of comes back to the faith thing for me in this way. Stand on the truth is something that I learned from one of my spiritual mentors. And when I heard that the first time, it didn't mean as much as it does to me now. but I have built a business around my values. And I know that that sounds super fluffy. But what I mean by that is the values of integrity, which are in alignment, with things. I offer people outcomes and results as long as they put into the process and into the system that I've created. I offer them those results knowing that they are possible. I don't create something that gives them the idea of possibility. I give them something that has the possibility that if they apply their effort and energy to it, that they'll see results. And that is part of being fun for me. That is also part of being profitable, because when people, I talk to people about this all the time. It's like, hey, if you compare what it costs to work with me to purchasing a pizza, I am super expensive, like really expensive. I also am not going to put food in your mouth, right? Indirectly, maybe, but if you compare working with me, the cost of working with me, to the return on investment that you can make by working with me, I become really, really cheap. And the reason is because the return on investment is much more than what you're going to put into working with me. When I can do that and then deliver on those results, that is absolutely fun. I can earn a living to support my family. I can earn a living to support the things I want to do, the impact I'm here to make in this world. And you tell me what entrepreneur that's solving somebody else's, a business is all about solving a problem. If you don't have a problem you solve, you don't have a business. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you that. I don't care if somebody was willing to pay you, you won't have somebody else willing to pay you for it. If you don't have a problem to solve, you don't have a business. And if you solve a problem that you're really good at solving for people and they pay you for it, that is fun. Mm-hmm. I've got clients. I had a client text me yesterday. Again, I work with entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs. Client texted me yesterday and said, my promotion came through. That is fun. When I get texts like that and go, yes, the work we're doing it makes a difference. His family is going to be impacted positively because of his new income he's got. Got another client I talked to. I've got a group that I do, a paid mastermind group, and the guy got one of the biggest sales he's ever had in his life. And he's a sales guy, SVP for a major company. And so sure, people are going to run into great sales in their life. That's awesome. This is like in the double-digit millions of dollars worth of sale for his company. And I asked him, how did you make that sale? And I said, how did you source that lead? And he said, it was from cold calling. And the reason he shook his head like that and said it was from cold calling was because he and I had worked specifically on building a sales list that was qualified, and the way to do that. And it was a cold call that he made that resulted in a double-digit, millions of dollars sale for his company, and a possibility to go triple-digit millions in relationship with them for years to come. That's fun. That's exciting. Yes. So yeah, profitable and fun. Yes, those are things that make it profitable and fun.
Nice. I want to comment on that last part that you just shared, because it sounds like this person was getting out of their comfort zone. Seems like they were restrictive to doing cold calling prior to doing that, and then getting out of their comfort zone, boom, grew them, right? Grew them.
Yeah, and it's very, my coach, she told me it's good to be stuck because it means you have stepped out of the comfort zone. It's not, and I've added, it's not good to stay stuck. Right. But find yourself stuck. Go out there and find a place where you go, I don't know what to do here, but have someone that can support you and help you, to help pull you through that uncomfort zone to get the things that the rewards that are on the other side of it.
Yeah. Awesome. So I'm going to allude to something that we have coming up jointly. I'm bringing you on to do a training for my audience. So can you kind of talk a little bit about that and what that's going to be about?
Yeah. So when we do this training, it's going to be a webinar. It's going to be something where I promise there will be something very special for everybody at the end. There'll be an exciting thing that you can take care of. I'm I don't know how much you want me to share. Like you lead with how much you want me to share, and I'll share what I can.
Well, it's the business break. Is it the breakthrough blueprint? Is what it's called,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
And if you've listened up to this far, you kind of see what Ryan can bring to the table, right? There's especially a nugget there a while back about clarity and overwhelm and getting through
Okay.
that, because I don't know very many entrepreneurs that don't deal with that at least some point. And getting through that is a big deal.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't know if you were going to tell them that we were going to do the breakthrough blueprint or not. So yes, it's going to be the 4 pillars of success. And these are the 4 pillars of the breakthrough blueprint. And I'm happy to share those with you, but these are what you need as an entrepreneur. This encompasses all of it. This will help you with those problems that I talked about solving, keeping from being overwhelmed, keeping from having the stress, getting organized, making sure you're not missing meetings, not missing deals, not missing sales. It's going to help you with your marketing. It'll help you with your sales. It'll help you with the operations. And one of the big things that people struggle with a lot as entrepreneurs is they may have all the tools, they may have too many tools, but when it's time to use one, they can't really put their hands on it. They don't necessarily have a good workflow or a process that drives what they want. And, a lot of people think that everything's fine. Right. And then we get in and we start building out an ultra clear plan and they're like, oh my gosh, I did not think we needed to do all this. And you do. Right. Having a strategy to do something is powerful leverage. And that is what the blueprint offers. A lot of people, they'll come back and they say, hey, my idea is different. It's very different than anybody else's. So it probably won't work for me. Some kind of cookie cutter thing won't work. It's not cookie cutter to the point where you need to do exactly these 10 steps, but there are business principles that are tried and true. I have seen them work over and over and over again for tiny businesses and for huge, gigantic businesses. These principles work over and over and over again. And if you've ever found yourself wishing you had more business coming in, wishing you had more hands to handle that business, if you have ever been in a situation where you wish you could generate income on demand when you wanted to, then you're going to want to pay attention to the breakthrough blueprint, because that's what it does. On top of that, it not only teaches you how to do those things, it teaches you how to do them over and over and over again. So you don't need to necessarily have a coach in each one of those areas for the rest of your life. You can learn these principles, put them into a system for yourself, for your business, and then boom, you've got what you need to start making a profitable, fun, and simple business.
Wow, I can't wait myself. It's going to be amazing. I'm a big proponent of the people that I bring on doing learn and deploy trainings. This is the definition of a learn and deploy training. It's not going to be filled with fluff. It's going to be filled with stuff that you can take and execute.
Absolutely.
Which is going to be amazing. So we may have an exact date, but I don't know it off the top of my head. But if you're watching this live right now, we don't have a link right now, but if you're watching this on recording, the link will be there. And as soon as I have the link to RSVP, it'll be underneath this video or the podcast, wherever you're seeing this. And if you're watching this, say 3 months from now, that training will have happened and it'll be evergreen. So you still will be able to access that training. So just want to make everyone aware that link is not live right now, but we will be getting it to you.
Absolutely.
The question I like to ask everybody that comes on the show prior to exiting is, do you have any famous, or not famous, they might end up famous after this, but do you have any words of wisdom for our entrepreneurs?
We're a different breed, entrepreneurs. We really are. There's something, some people would say broken within us, but we know that everybody else needs what we have. Without entrepreneurs doing what we do every day, it is very, very difficult. It's also difficult to have the courage to follow that dream. And I can't remember exactly who said it. I'll probably misquote who said it, so forgive me. I think it was Voltaire. But it said it's not enough to stare up the steps. We must step up the stairs. And that means get into action. Imperfect action is almost better than perfect. It'll always be better than perfect inaction. So do something, learn from it, keep moving forward, and don't just stare up the steps, step up the stairs.
That goes right along with how I sign off on every single one of these podcasts. So thank you, Ryan. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, entrepreneurs. And as I always say, keep moving